is the man everyone whispers about. The heartless husband who used his wife for money ritual. Money started coming out of her mouth. Watch this shocking story. The morning heat in Mile 3 Port Harcourt was wicked enough to cook beans. Inside a cramped, overheated one-room and parlor apartment, Martha sat on the edge of their squeaky wooden bed, staring at the last handful of garri inside a plastic container. Not even enough for one person. Her stomach growled, but she ignored it. She adjusted her dress and wiped sweat from her forehead. Even with her tired eyes and rough hair, she was still beautiful. The kind of subtle beauty people whispered about. Fine girl, but poverty won't finish him. Her husband, Daniel, paced the room angrily, kicking an empty plate out of his way. "Martha, I'm tired of this life," he shouted, frustration squeezing his voice. "How person go dey work from morning till night, but still no fit feed this household?" "You think it's easy for me, Martha?" said quietly. "You think I don't want to eat? You think I like how I'm managing kerosene every day?" Daniel grabbed his faded shirt from the plastic hanger. He was tall, handsome in a rugged way, but stress had added 10 invisible years to his face. "I dey go workshop," he said. "If customer come today, I will come home with small money." He stormed out of the room. The door slammed. Martha exhaled deeply and touched the empty container. Maybe today would be better. Maybe her neighbor Mama Peace would dash her small yam. Maybe something will change. That evening, Martha knelt beside the kerosene stove, fanning it tiredly. The pot on the stove was empty, because the cupboard was empty, because life had finished them. She checked their food container again. Nothing, not even a grain of rice. She sat back, fighting tears. At that same moment, the door opened roughly. Her husband Daniel entered with a loud sigh, dropping his bag on the floor. "Martha," he said, voice sharp, "you no cook?" She looked at him slowly. "With what? Water?" Daniel hissed loudly and paced around the room. "This life don't tire me. My mates they drive car. Me I dey trek like mumu. Every day hunger, every day suffering. Which kind life be this?" Martha approached him calmly. "Daniel, we go survive. Money go come." He cut her off. "Money no dey come if person no go look for him." He stormed outside again, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Martha exhaled shakily. She didn't know where he went. She didn't know what was growing in his mind. Daniel walked angrily through the street, kicking stones like they offended him. His pride was bleeding. Then he saw Uche, one of his old friends, now suddenly rich. Clean clothes, gold wristwatch, iPhone, a new Benz parked by the road. Daniel stared in shock. "Oh boy, Uche, now you be this? You don't blow like this." Uche smiled mysteriously. "Daniel, you still dey suffer, huh? You never ready." "What kind of ready?" Daniel asked quickly. "What did you do? Abeg talk." Uche looked around, then lowered his voice. "There is a man, a spiritual man. If you follow instructions, your life could change forever." Daniel's heartbeat doubled. "What kind of instruction?" Uche hesitated, then whispered. "You go use somebody close to you." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean use?" "Blood sacrifice," Uche said. "Simple one, not killing. The person go dey vomit money for you. If you treat them well, they can live long." Daniel swallowed hard. His palms began to sweat. "Who I go use?" he asked quietly. Uche smiled slowly. "Your wife. She trusts you. She loves you. Na the easiest ritual." Daniel felt a sharp fear inside his chest, but it didn't stop him, because like poison, greed was stronger than fear. "Where the spiritual man dey?" he asked quietly. "Old shaman for Creek Road. He go give you one calabash. Your wife no need to know anything." Daniel nodded slowly. For the first time in months, he saw a future that looked bright, a future painted with money, and Martha's name was written with blood at the bottom of it. Night had crawled into Mile 3 like a thief. Smell of roasted fish drifted through the street, but Daniel wasn't thinking about food. His mind was somewhere darker. He paced the small room as Martha slept lightly on the bed, her tired chest rising and falling. He watched her for a moment. The woman who still prayed for him, still defended him, still believed in him. And yet, he slowly removed his slippers, picked his phone and slipped out of the house quietly. Creek Road Market at night was a different world. Daniel hesitated, checking the message Uche sent him. Knock 3 times on the blue container. When he opens, don't look at him directly. Just greet him with respect. Daniel found the container, rusty, dirty blue paint, a strange chalk symbol drawn on the door. His heart beating like a talking drum. He knocked. Bok, 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 bok. Silence. Then, enter. The door opened itself. Daniel froze. No human hand touched it. No one stood at the door. He swallowed hard and stepped inside. The container was dim. Only a red lantern lit the room. At the far end sat an old man, skin wrinkled like dried leather, eyes hidden. His voice cut through the air. Daniel. Daniel flinched. Sir, how you take no my? The man raised a hand. You came, the shaman said. Your friend already paid for your passage. Yes, sir, Daniel whispered. The man smiled slowly. I can give you money, the shaman said, but every wealth demands a soul anchor. Daniel blinked. A soul anchor? Someone whose life will feed your fortune. Someone close. Someone who loves you. Daniel's chest tightened. He already knew the answer. Martha, he whispered. The shaman nodded. Yes, your wife is perfect. Her heart is clean. Her trust in you is deep. She will produce money for you. Daniel's breath trembled. Will she die? The shaman laughed. A deep, unsettling sound. She will not die immediately, but her strength will become your wealth. The more she weakens, the richer you become. Daniel looked at his shaking hands. But I don't want to kill her. You cannot have wealth without sacrifice. Daniel shut his mouth quickly. The shaman leaned forward slowly, whispering, You want to leave poverty? Then take this. He lifted a round brown calabash. Daniel felt heat rising from it, a live, pulsing heat. This calabash, the shaman said, will draw money out of her body, but you must initiate it. How? Daniel asked, voice shaking. The shaman explained. Cook her a meal yourself, anything delicious, then add this powder to it. Put 1 strand of her hair inside the calabash. When she sleeps, place the calabash under the bed, then call her name 3 times. By sunrise, her body will begin producing money. Daniel's mind spun. Is this real? The shaman's eyes gleamed. Nothing is free. You asked for wealth? This is the price. He pushed the calabash into Daniel's hands. Go, the shaman whispered, and do not look back. Daniel turned. He walked out of the container, and when he looked over his shoulder, the container was gone, vanished, like it never existed. When Daniel reached home, Martha was still asleep, one hand tucked under her cheek. A soft snore escaped her lips. Daniel stared at her, his wife, his blessing, his victim. He whispered, I'm sorry, but I can't stay poor anymore. He hid the calabash carefully inside a bag of old clothes under the bed. Then he lay beside her, eyes wide open, sleep far away. Daniel woke earlier than usual. The sun had barely risen, yet he was already in the kitchen, moving with the kind of energy he hadn't shown in months. Pots clattered, pepper hissed inside the blender, steam curled from boiling water. Today wasn't just cooking. Today was the beginning of the ritual. He chopped onions, mixed the powder with the washed meat, blended fresh pepper, crayfish, scent leaf. Footsteps. The soft sound of Martha's slippers. She entered the kitchen, her sleepy eyes half open. Babe, why you wake up so early? She asked, leaning on the doorframe. Daniel forced a smile. I just want to surprise you. You deserve something nice. Martha rubbed her eyes, smiling back. Where you take money this morning? Ah, you cook meat soup for me? Daniel nodded. She walked closer and hugged him from the back, her cheek pressed against his shoulder. Thank you, my love. You are trying. God will bless you. Those words hit him like a knife. He swallowed hard. Go relax, he said quietly. It will soon be ready. Martha kissed his cheek and left the kitchen humming. Daniel gripped the counter. He almost backed out. Almost. His eyes hardened. He continued cooking. When the meat soup was done, he poured it into a bowl. Now came the hardest part. He needed a single strand of Martha's hair. He walked into the bedroom. Martha was sitting on the bed, arranging her hair and checking her phone. Perfect timing. Daniel moved behind her with a fake smile. Fine girl, he teased, touching her shoulder. Martha laughed. Leave me, Joe. As she arranged her hair, 2 strands fell on the bed. Daniel waited for her to turn away and quickly picked one, tucking it between his fingers. His heart hammered loudly. He hurried back to the kitchen and hid the hair in his pocket. After she left the bedroom, he quickly put the hair inside the calabash and went back to the kitchen. Daniel carried the tray into the sitting room. Martha, food is ready. She came out smiling. You don't too spoil me today, oh, she joked. She sat and began eating the meat soup happily. Babe, won't you eat with me? Martha asked. Daniel hesitated and said, No, I made this specially for you. Daniel, this one's sweet die. What did you put inside? Daniel forced a laugh. Just normal things. But deep inside, his stomach twisted. Every swallow she took felt like he was trading pieces of her soul. Halfway through the meal, Martha paused. Babe, I dey feel small heat for my chest. Maybe the pepper is too much. It's nothing, Daniel replied quickly. Just drink water. She shrugged and continued eating. She finished everything, even drank the soup water. Daniel watched silently, his heart pounding like thunder. By evening, Martha began feeling weak. Not sick, just drained. Baby, I dey tire, she murmured, lying on the sofa. I don't understand why my body feels heavy. Daniel pretended to be worried. Maybe you walked too much today. You should rest. Martha nodded and closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was deeply asleep. Daniel stared at her. It was time. Night settled over the house. The room was quiet. Daniel slid the calabash out from under the bed. It was warm, warmer than before, like something inside was alive. He placed it under Martha's side of the bed, just as the shaman instructed. Then, with a trembling voice, he called her name. Martha. No response. Martha. The calabash vibrated softly. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. He said the final call. Martha. Suddenly, the room grew cold. The shadows stretched. A soft, eerie hum filled the air. Martha's body twitched. Her breathing slowed. Daniel did not sleep that night. The first cock crowed in the distance, faint but sharp. Daniel's eyes were burning from staying awake all night. Then, Martha's eyes snapped open. Daniel, something is happening to me. Her voice trembled, one hand on her throat. Before he could move closer, she gagged once, twice, and then money burst out of her mouth. Crisp $100 notes spilled onto the bedsheet. Daniel staggered back in shock. More notes pushed out violently, falling into his hands, onto the floor, scattering across the room like a rain of cash. Martha screamed, shaking, clutching her chest. Daniel, why is this happening? What's this? She vomited again. Not food, not water, more money. Her eyes were filled with fear. Her breathing quickened. She looked at Daniel like he was the only lifeline she had. Daniel, sweating, trembling, didn't know whether to hold her or collect the money. The money kept coming, faster, stronger, like something inside her wanted to empty her soul. Martha, calm down, calm. But he couldn't even finish the sentence. She threw up another pile of fresh notes, tears running down her face. Daniel, please help me. I did die. Before he could reply her, Martha fainted. Daniel stared at the money, real, new, clean. The sun had barely risen over the city, but Daniel's life was already changing. Martha sat on the bed, trembling, clutching her stomach as another pile of money slipped from her mouth. She was awake this time, her eyes wide with panic. "Daniel, something happened to me. I know they feel well," she cried. Daniel swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "Relax, baby. Na blessing they come our way. Everything they okay." But inside, his heart was pounding. He had never seen so much money in one place. Crisp new notes filled basins, heat, even the floor. "This thing they walk all," he muttered under his breath. "And soon I go move out, leave this small room behind. No one go suspect anything." By evening, Daniel had already started planning. He bought a new mansion in the wealthier part of the city, far from the prying eyes of old neighbors. The house was modern with shiny gates, tall fences, and a sleek facade that screamed success. He bought a new car and drove to furniture stores, and he bought a few luxury wristwatches and expensive clothes. Every step he took made him feel like a big man, and every bundle of money from Martha pushed him further into that life. Yet at home, Martha continued to suffer. She vomited money daily, her body growing weaker, her eyes hollow, her spirit fading. Daniel pretended to comfort her while he packed the cash, ignoring the pain in her face. Daniel followed the shaman's instructions perfectly. He cooked meat soup for Martha, mixed with the powder, and placed the calabash under her bed while she slept. Each morning, she would vomit more money, awake this time, terrified, but still obedient, still trusting him. He collected it all, bagged it, locked her in the room, and carried it to his savings room. Stacks of dollar notes piled higher each day, giving him the power to buy property, open a small boutique, and live the big man life he always dreamed. With the new house and wealth came attention. People whispered about the sudden success of Daniel. "Who they give her money like that?" they asked. Daniel laughed with confidence, showing off his car, his clothes, and his new mansion. No one suspected the dark ritual behind it all. He glanced at Martha, lying weak in bed. Her body was wasting away, her eyes wide with fear, but her obedience fed his empire. He smiled coldly. "Soon, I go be top man for this city. Money no go finish, nothing fit stop me." Every morning, she vomited money, awake, terrified, trembling. Her hair was messy, her skin pale, her eyes hollow. Daniel had grown used to the sight. His greed had hardened his heart. Daniel had met Chidima at a boutique lunch. Beautiful, charming, ambitious, everything he wanted in a big man wife. He wooed her with dinners, gifts, and promises of luxury. And within months, he had married her officially, hosting a quiet civil ceremony to avoid gossip. Chidima moved into the mansion, laughing, showing off her designer outfits, taking selfies with Daniel's car. Behind the locked door, Martha's cries echoed silently. The money she produced filled basins stacked in the corner. Daniel collected it daily, delivering it to the bank, to new investment, to cement his big man life, while ignoring the woman who had made it all possible. Martha lay on the floor most days, weak from vomiting money, too afraid to move. Daniel had made her understand the rules. No one must enter. She must produce the money every morning. Any refusal would bring consequences she could not survive. Outside, Daniel laughed and lived the high life. He drove Chidima to church in his car, bought her jewelry, opened a small boutique in the city, and hosted lavish dinners for friends. Everyone admired his rise. "Daniel na big man now," people whispered. But Daniel never forgot the source of his wealth. Martha, the locked room, the calabash. Chidima had started noticing the little things. The locked room at the end of the house, he always warned her never to enter. At first, she laughed it off. Big men dey secretivo, she told herself, but she started watching Daniel closely. She also monitored his every move and found out where he hides the key to the hidden room. One evening, while Daniel was out for a business meeting, Chidima took the key from inside his shoe and wandered towards the forbidden door. She remembered his warning. Chidima, no enter this room, he no consign you. I beg, respect me. But the way he had looked at her, tense, almost fearful, made her pause. Her hand hovered over the doorknob. Her heart pounded. She inserted the key and then she turned it slowly. The door clicked. The room was dark. Martha lay on the floor, her body pale and trembling, basins of wet, crumpled dollar notes stacked around her. The calabash pulsed softly, almost alive, feeding on her suffering. Chidima froze, her heart pounding. Her eyes darted to Martha's hollow, wide-eyed face, to the piles of money, to the glowing calabash. Chidima gasped, stepping back. Jesus, what is this? Martha tried to speak, but her voice was weak. You mustn't, she whispered, but Chidima didn't wait for answers. Chidima's voice rose, shaking with rage. This is evil. He's keeping her here like a prisoner, like an animal. Chidima whispered to herself, determination in her voice. This cannot continue. I must stop him. But how? The sound of the front gate opening froze Chidima in place. Daniel is back. Chidima ran out of the room, locked the door, and ran quickly to the room. She returned the key back to Daniel's hiding spot. Chidima had made up her mind. She could no longer pretend, could no longer ignore the horror behind the locked door. Martha's suffering, the piles of money, the glowing calabash, all of it had to end. That night, she waited until the apartment was silent. Daniel had gone out to finalize some business deals, but Chidima knew he would return late. She quietly approached the locked room, her heart pounding like a drum. Martha, I'm here, she whispered, kneeling beside her. Martha's eyes were wide, full of fear and disbelief. Please, no one can help me, not even him. Chidima shook her head. Not anymore. We're getting you out of here, now. Martha's weak hands clutched hers as they stepped towards the door. This way, quick, Chidima urged. But just as they reached the door, Daniel returned. The sight of his two wives in the forbidden room sent his face into a mask of fury. Chidima, what you they do? He roared, charging at them. The women froze for a second, but Chidima pulled Martha behind her. They ran for the door, but Daniel caught up, grabbing Chidima by the wrist. The force of the struggle sent Martha stumbling to the floor. Daniel swung, pulling Chidima back into the room. Una no go fit run, he shouted, eyes wild. In the struggle, Chidima saw it, the calabash glowing ominously in the corner. She lunged at it, yanking it off. Stop! Stop this madness! She screamed. With a swift motion, she smashed the calabash on the cement floor. The room shook violently. A low, menacing wail filled the room. The black glow from the broken calabash swelled into the air, then vanished. Martha gasped, finally able to breathe properly, her body weak but alive. Daniel's eyes blazed with fury. This na my power, my money, my life, he yelled. Then Daniel froze. His chest heaved, his eyes rolled, wild and unfocused. He sank to his knees, clutching his head, muttering incoherently. Power, calabash, money, them they follow me. He began to scream uncontrollably, pounding the floor with his fists. Chidima stepped back, horrified. By morning, Daniel had stumbled into the streets, naked to his shame, raving to anyone who would listen. He shouted about the calabash, the money, and the suffering of his wife. Passers-by froze, some running, some calling for help, some recording on their phones. A small crowd gathered as Daniel, wild-eyed and disheveled, climbed onto a crate in the central square. He screamed at the top of his lungs. "People, I confess, I used my own wife for wealth. I made her suffer for my greed. I created curses and chains. I fed her to spirits, but I cannot live with this power anymore." His voice cracked, shaking with madness. He clutched at invisible forces, yelling about shadows, spirits, and the Calabash's wrath. The city watched in horror as Daniel collapsed again and again, screaming. Authorities arrived shortly after, guiding the raving man into a waiting ambulance. He was taken to a mental asylum, still screaming about money and curses. The city whispered in disbelief. The man who had seemed so powerful, so untouchable, was now a shell of his former self, a prisoner of his own greed. Meanwhile, Chidima packed all the money in Daniel's savings room and quickly returned to her place. She had taken Martha there the previous night. Martha collapsed into a chair, exhausted but finally free. I can breathe again," she whispered, tears streaming. Chidima held her hand. "No more chains, no more fear. He can't touch him anymore." Martha nodded. Slowly, she began to regain her strength. Martha gave her some money. She opened a small, honest business in the city. Chidima stayed by her side, a protective shadow. The city would never forget Daniel's story, a man who sacrificed his wife for wealth only to lose his mind and his freedom.